Canadian quarterback Michael O'Connor joins us. He's been picking up the flag game and playing for the men's national team as well as they are on their quest to try to qualify for the Los Angeles Olympics in 2028. And Michael, there's a big tournament this summer in Germany, which could qualify the team for the Olympics. Can you educate me and our listeners and viewers about it?
Sure. So we have the World Championships coming up this August in Germany, and the top two teams from that tournament get a qualifying bid to the Olympics in 2028. Um, and then in 2027, there'll be another tournament to determine the last three teams that get in. So it's coming up quick, right? And we got to be ready to go. But we're confident, looking forward to the challenge.
You should be confident. You've beaten the Americans, who everybody believes, I think, are the favorites and potentially for gold in LA. But the Canadians are coming on strong, especially with a new group that's just come together over the last couple of years, you included, and with head coach Paul LaPolice in the mix. How much improvement have you seen? And then how much more upside do you believe there is with this Canadian team?
Yes, I've seen a lot of improvement just in the past year. We've only been to two tournaments so far as a collective group, so there's a lot of room for growth in that regard. But I think we are continuing to get better and improve. Coach LaPolice has done a great job of just implementing new things that we can do with the plays. Right, flag is a really creative game. A number of ways you can do things. So we're just continuing to expand and evolve and work on our craft. And the defense is doing a great job as well. Talking with Coach Joel, he's going into a lot of detail about what kind of quarterbacks are we playing, what kind of team are we playing, what do they like to do on offense. So it's really fascinating. But I have the most confidence in our coaches and our players, and we're going into Germany with a lot of confidence and looking to get a bid into the Olympics.
Coach Joel is the defensive coordinator who hails from Saskatoon, has a big training program going out there with a lot of the University of Saskatchewan Huskies players and now doing his thing with the national team. When you look at this roster, your name jumps out to me, and so does Anthony Auclair, Super Bowl champion, a guy that won, I believe it was multiple Vanier Cups at Laval University. What's it like for you to have him on the field playing flag football with a guy like that?
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a really great target for us and a great guy too, great teammate. Um, so in flag, you really can play through the body as a defensive back. So not only is he great in the end zone throwing jump balls, but he's also great on running an out route or a hitch route where he can just kind of box out the DB and just get big. And yeah, so he's an awesome target and pleasure to work with. Great guy.
You talked about some of the nuances of the game there in terms of just Auclair and what his abilities are as a receiver in the flag game as opposed to the tackle game. What intrigues me are these two quarterback or three quarterback sets that I've heard about. It seems crazy in my mind to think about, but how do some of those plays unfold and what do they look like in the flag game?
Yeah, so it's 5-on-5 in the flag game, right? So as soon as you go to two quarterback or three quarterback set, the defense has to declare, are they going to rush each quarterback full speed? Well, then you're left with one-on-one matchups down the field. And if they're going to, sit back in zone, now the main quarterback can pass it to the second quarterback and now he can run. Or, it becomes scramble drill almost like in tackle football. You get, routes that, you know, become a wheel, then a comeback or an in, then an out, a lot of variability. So it's just putting stress on the defense. Do they want to get pressure on the quarterbacks? One-on-ones downfield. They want to play in zone. Now we got space to run the ball. So it's just a number of ways to do things. But again, it's all about putting stress on the defense and keeping them on their toes.
What coverages do you see most in the flag game when you're an offense looking at a defense? Is it a lot of man coverage? Is there zone mixed in there? What do you see?
Yeah, so I was thinking because the field's only 25 yards wide that we'd see a lot more man coverage than in tack football, but it's actually quite a lot of zone. It plays more like match, right? Where they're not just going to sit in a zone the whole play. They're going to eventually man someone up that comes into their zone. That happens a little quicker than in tackle football. And then, yeah, we get some two high, some one high as well. So it's not just always the two safeties, two corners. Some teams like to play with the middle field safety and a linebacker. Some teams play two safeties, two corners. So it's variable, but it's pretty interesting. There is quite a lot you can do with just five defenders.
It seems like there's going to be a lot of competition for the roster spots if the team qualifies for LA. I think there's a really good chance that you do. What's it like a guy on the team right now, essentially a starter at the quarterback position, to look out and see the talent that's grown as Canadian quarterbacks continue, I think, to get more and more opportunities and play legitimately in the CFL and get looks even in the NFL?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I remember being a little kid, growing up in Ottawa, and my parents would take me to Gigi's games, and I was watching Brad Sinopoli. Um, some of my, first games I went to were Gigi's games. So, um, just seeing his journey, right, and kind of what he did in football is pretty cool. But now, moving forward, just the amount of quarterbacks, that are Canadian and doing big things, right? Just love to see the growth of the game and in particular the skilled positions in Canada, just like quarterbacks. It's awesome.
There seems like there's gonna be a lot of competition at that quarterback spot. You have a guy like Nathan Rourke, who's a franchise quarterback with the BC Lions now, playing in a BC recreational flag football league. You as the starter right now, how do you view that competition heating up as you look towards the Olympics?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think ultimately you want the best roster possible for Canada. So if it were a scenario where play with Team Canada flag for the next 2 years and then they decide to go a different route come the Olympics, I would be disappointed. But at the end of the day, it's not about me; it's about Canada and us putting out the best product on the field come the Olympics. And we still have to qualify, right? Nothing's guaranteed. Um, but at the same time, I think that I'm a great quarterback and I will compete to be the quarterback for the Olympic team.
Do you feel like you have an advantage because you've been playing with the men's national team and involved in flag longer than, let's say, a guy like Nathan Rourke or Curtis Rourke or Trey Ford, some of the other players that are being mentioned for that position?
I think that will be definitely a positive. Um, because it is a very different game, as I'm sure you've saw, the Fanatics when the NFL players played Team USA flag, right? It was a blowout, but it makes sense because it's a different game. It takes some time to get adjusted and get used to it. So I think I'd have the edge in that regard. But at the end of the day, you never know what the future holds. It's a blessing and a privilege to be able to represent my country on a national stage, and we're gonna see where it goes and just enjoy this. Everything now is a bonus, in the way I see it. Is I finished playing in the CFL. I was ready to take the next step, and this opportunity came up. So just running with it and enjoying my time.
You mentioned the CFL. Do you feel like you got a legitimate, fair opportunity to compete at the quarterback position? And I ask that with the context of you see the Canadians now getting, I feel like, more legitimate looks because guys like you, guys like Brandon Bridge, you could even go back in the past and look at people pushing that position forward from a Canadian perspective. So do you think you got a legit fair shake?
I do think so. I had opportunities in Calgary and BC, both to play, and ultimately I didn't take advantage of the opportunity, to put it simply. But in terms of a Canadian bias, I don't see that at all. Maybe that was a thing in the past, but I think that you know, like you're saying, Brandon Bridge, Nathan Rourke, Trey Ford, they're doing a great job, and it's just kind of I think the attitude has changed league wide in terms of not only QBs but other skill positions, right? You're seeing a lot of great receivers in the league now and running backs. So I think the Canadian quarterbacks are getting a fair shake, and I think that narrative is I don't think it's true anymore. Yes, sir.
Do you think you help push that narrative to the point where it is now, where quarterbacks are getting a legit look?
I think we all played a part in the story. Like I was mentioning earlier, Brad Sinopoli, one of the first that I can remember. But I think he didn't get a fair shake, to be honest. But I think if he were to come out, in 2025, 2026, that'd be a different story. So we're all a little part of the fabric, and it's a small family, Canadian quarterbacks, but it's a tight family, and we all support one another, and I'm excited to see the next crop of quarterbacks eventually in the CFL.
You mentioned making the transition from the CFL to the flag game. What were some of the biggest hurdles for you to get over to get comfortable playing quarterback on the flag field?
That's a good question. There's a couple because the game is just very, very different than tack football. The first I'd say is the field's 25 yards wide. So I remember the first camp I went to, the first trial camp. I threw a couple picks on deep balls where I'm kind of putting a lot of air on it. Um, but the backside corners, coming off his guy and making a play on the post to the field, which you would never see in tackle football because the field's too wide for that to happen. So just getting used to that and saying, hey, if you're gonna go deep, it's got to be a pretty firm ball, or you got to know it's a go route on the sideline where it's true one on one. That's a big one. And then two is just the rusher, right? Getting used to the rusher. Um, there's no pocket really in flag football. It's just navigating the rusher who has a free run at you from 7 yards. So just kind of getting used to if it's a taller rusher, I might need to drop my arm angle a little bit to get around him. If it's a shorter rusher, I won't have that problem, but he's probably going to be on me a little bit quicker. So just kind of getting a feel for what the rusher's doing and kind of what the plan of attack is in that sense. So a number of different things.
You can sling it, man. I remember seeing you for the first time live in 2015. You had transferred from, I believe it was Penn State up to UBC, and the way the ball came off your hand, I don't think I had ever seen from a Canadian quarterback live, at least before, with all due respect to guys that have come before you. I think of Tommy Dennison, who had the name Tommy Gun when he was at Queens. But the way you threw the football, and especially that Vanier Cup, the way that the Thunderbirds won that Vanier Cup, I thought this guy like has legitimate arm talent. Like he can spin it. All the terms that people say now that are those buzzwords. Do you still feel like your arm is as strong as it was in 2015? Is it close to the same? Where is it at?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it might be a little bit stronger now, actually, which is kind of funny because I've been out of the CFL for a couple of years now. But I just think it's a feeling, it's a skill, and I've been doing it so long that it's just second nature to me now. Um, and working with Rob in Vancouver, Rob Williams, he's been great too, right? Working on the mechanics, so just being able to tap into getting more power out of the hips, quickening up the release. Um, But yeah, I think the flag game too, it's like I say, the field's condensed, so you really gotta be quick with the football, both in the release, but also in the juice you put on it, because the windows close really quick. And if it's man coverage, you better put on the right shoulder, because it's very unforgiving in that sense. So, being accurate, quick release, strong arm, I think, I have all those, and I think that really helps me to excel in the flag game.
Rob Williams, you mentioned he's worked with Nathan Rourke, really helps, I think, tighten up his throwing motion, especially his accuracy too. Rourke's accuracy from when he was at Ohio University to the pros has changed a lot. I believe it's QB Motion. Is that his
QB
company?
motion.
Yeah,
That's
QB
right.
Motion. I think he's even working with guys like Trevor Harris now who have
Mhm.
stopped in there. Who else has come by that you've seen at quarterback?
Oh, a number of guys, Curtis Rourke, Nathan's brother, oh, that's a good question.
I think Vernon Adams Jr.
Um,
might have been through there.
Vernon Adams, yeah, Arbuckle, um,
That's a good handful right
yeah,
there.
yeah, Cornelius stopped by, I remember one time, and a couple NCAA guys, Division I guys coming up, a lot of quarterbacks from U Sport, will go out to see him, so it's cool, man, it's, like I say, Canadian quarterbacks, we stick together, and it's a big family, and so he's a big part of that.
The country's gonna feel like a big family pushing for you guys to get to the Los Angeles Olympics and be watching this world championship tournament in the summer. Michael, thank you so much for teaching us about the flag game and sharing some insight into being a Canadian quarterback, your journey, and then trying to push this team to the Olympics. Appreciate it.
Thank you.